Good morning, everybody. Some markets at resistance. They had this mini void and they just went right up to, looking at these futures here, right up to that prior pivot high there. And they're stalled this morning. And so that doesn't mean they can't get through it, of course. The next level is not too far off. But one of the concepts that we look at to guide us as to turning points is the concept of a greater than 100% retracement. And what that says is that when prices move up from in this case, a low point, and trade above a prior high point, a greater than 100% retracement, to expect there to be a stall in momentum. Today is just beginning. This really doesn't mean that anything really to the effect of a stall in momentum at all. We have to see how the day progresses. So should it push above here, that concept, let me back up for a second. That concept doesn't say where the momentum will stall. It just says anticipate that there's going to be a stall in momentum. So it doesn't mean that it trades above the high and momentum comes to a screeching halt. And but in this case, the next stopping point, reversal, is right up here. It's not that far away. So does it just get above here and just begin to consolidate and stall? Does it get a little further, greater than 100% retracement here? We'll see. Now, I can see on the hourly chart that the momentum has stalled, but it hasn't turned lower. In other words, as it went up here, see this little consolidation and breakout, that immediately stalled. And anytime you see a little consolidation within an uptrend, and this is obviously a strong uptrend, momentum move creates a void. Oh, it's going to pull back. And we all think, okay, we'll get in on the next pullback. Well, that didn't happen. And it went sideways, which is a strong indication of demand and buyers stepping up, and it's not pulling back. How do we recognize that? Well, one of them is a red bar ignored, like this, where say it's a mini climactic sell setup, and then a topping tail, which is a little breakout failure, and that didn't go down. So as we read bar by bar and put the bars together, and another red bar, it doesn't go down, right? That begins to communicate demand is very strong. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go long, because it could have pulled back. But you can see that this bar here took out the low and, was a range expansion bar compared to these and closed on the high. That says it's going to go higher. And so, it did. It pulled back, so on and so forth. But now we've got the longest consolidation. Of course, this includes overnight trading. But we've got this little pivot where this little breakout stalled, and it's being retested. So again, we have to update the information. Say, all right, it's created a new reference point of support, pivot low, opposing pivot high, trading range. Which way is it going to go? All right. And continue to get above here. All right. Why is this happening? Look to the left. And that's why it's happening. It's at a pivot high and it's ran up here. So does it break below here and roll over? Well, in that case, where's the next reference point? Look to the left, and step by step. So with a move up like this, and do we get a turn day today or tomorrow, whichever, it's suggestive that this would now pull back. The same way we view this, that it should pull back. Well, we review this, that it should pull back. Now, what does it do? And, bar by bar, breakout failures, topping tails, red bars ignored, so on and so forth. We continue to monitor what is. 15,430. 15,430, which is right here, right? Right, just above here. So anywhere in here, it's, as you can see it, I'm just scrunching this up. Let's get rid of this. You can see right here, 15,400, and this little pivot right there As I'm putting my line on there, is around 15,394-ish. We don't really care about exact numbers. It's stalled here and it's made a little double top there. So I don't know about that exact number, McGraw. I don't see as it being relevant. Maybe there's some option open interest there that is of some relevance. But we can just know by looking to the left that this area is a stall point. Now, whether what's to the left, a greater than 100% retracement. So it's just the way historically I've seen things stall at a stall turning point, the greater than 100% retracement, where it actually takes out the prior high or it takes out a prior low, and then you begin to get a turn. So today could be a turn day. It could just be, a choppy day. Buyers just not going to give up so easy. They rarely ever do unless there's some shock element to it, a gap up, which we don't have, and a reversal, or some news comes out that causes a gap down under a green bars low. So we going into today, it's just like, hey, it just reminds me of, and this was interesting. You hear things on the news. It's like, hey, is that a sign of a top? And this fella that's on Fox News, Charles Payne, he's been around forever. And he says something to the effect of, everybody's worried about inflation or shortages or whatever. He rattled off a few things, but he says, you know what? The markets are rallying. Just sit back and enjoy it. Like, there's no worries here. And one of the things I noticed yesterday, looking at the little pieces of information, is that there was a change yesterday, a slight change in sentiment, in that intraday there was an overwhelming amount of call buying going on, much more than what there has been recently. And that doesn't turn things on a dime, but tremendous amount of call buying. All of a sudden, media guy says, just enjoy it. There's no concerns here. And it's like, I think maybe we need to look over our shoulder a little bit, when the media starts talking that way. In any event, we look at what is today, and this is what is today. We're at a point where the momentum should stall somewhere in this area here. And then what it does from there, how much does it pull back? Does it go sideways, like it did here? So it could go sideways and bullishly, but this has created a void. And, when things go up too far, too fast, they tend to pull back as traders see that, hey, we ran this thing way up here. Where am I going to buy this thing at this point? So the further it goes up, the more risk increases in the short term. But it's a positive that it held here and went up as far as it did. Right? So far, it's a bit of it's pulled back. It broke the low, which it hadn't done in the recent past. And so now this becomes a important point as to whether it can get through that or not. We shall see. S&Ps, right? Same consolidation up there, right up near the old highs, and momentum stalled, and a range expansion bar there yesterday. And let's look at the spiders. There was that little gap up into this congestion area, which held it in place. And so 450-ish. So yeah, it's pretty much where it was yesterday. We'll see if it can keep, gap up. There was that buy the gap down there day, and so just go nothing day. And so as we look at this weekly chart, I wanted to do that. I suspect it would be 4,500 big open interest, that big whole number. So we share thoughts, here pre-marketed. We'd say what is, and then thoughts about what could be. Well, there's no denying that this pullback was steeper than the prior ones, and the interest rate thing and inflation and all of that. Well, this could become an M type of a top. We don't know. As McGraw is pointing out, there's a large open interest in SPX at 4,500. So it's up above that. So a close down below this today, should that happen, it would be a significant event in the short term. We don't know if it will happen, but there is this unfilled gap and again, this momentum move. And as far as SPX goes, the call side is too tight where there's premium. I forget exactly where it was, but you can go down to, now they're clearing it. I think I had, it was 44.65. Yeah, it was 44.65 or 44.70. Boy, this reset, I had this marked. So down to 44.70, 44.65 would be the lower levels to consider today. All right. Look at that. The Russell getting tighter. You know which way is it going to go? And we talked about these moving averages being tight. Candle bodies at the top of the wide range bar here got rejected. Bought here. Still waiting. You can see the weekly chart. There's tails and narrow candle bodies. Let's go to the ETF. So you can see as it went up wide, right? Wide ranges, even though there are tails there, and wide, getting tighter. Now it's getting real tight. So, the battle between supply and demand is, winding the spring. Sometimes we use that analogy, which suggests it's getting ready. It's in the middle of the range here, and it's got to break here sooner or later, I think. So far, this kind of price action staying at the top is somewhat bullish. Waiting to see, set an alert up there, see what it does. Transports, with market grinding up, does logic dictate long catch up? Always, McGraw, right? So related to IWM. So yeah, we could say related to IWM, but the idea of catch up is as markets go up and different markets, different sectors become extended in the short term, money tends to rotate from what's doing well into what is underperformed. Now, what becomes more attractive as to what is underperformed? So you're asking about the Russell. Well, it could break out and move up, or what could be more attractive is things that have really underperformed and done nothing, similar to marijuana yesterday. All of a sudden, it's so dead in the water and doing absolutely zero. And I talked about this in the weekend video about how MJ was getting so tight and quiet that maybe this is getting to a point where something's going to happen there, right? And I was just looking at charts and historically as to, when things get dead, where they've been moving down, with big moves between pivot highs and pivot lows and larger ranges. And all of a sudden it just gets like no one's interested anymore. And what did I say in the weekend video? Not as big as I thought it might be, but I said, look for it to go down. And if it springs right back up again, and that's what it did. And so now we've got this wide range bar. Now we've seen wide range bars in marijuana before, and they have disappointed, but maybe it's different this time. It's been going down for a long time, and look, the way that thing went up. That was a power move. I don't know why. I don't know. But I don't know what the news was. In any event, this is a plus. So when we think about playing catch up, things that are totally out of favor, money rotates into that. One of the things that we took a stab at yesterday, right? We took a position. Maybe this plays catch up. Right? We'll see. It's down here. Big deal. Goes down, comes up, comes down, kind of dead. And maybe it's going to play a little catch up. So there are plenty of things out there. We see a lot of bottoming patterns out there that could play catch up. IWM could be a breakout kind of catch up. So the thing's worse looking than IBM as far as having gone down. All right. Let me move this along here. The Dow knocking on the door, new all-time highs. Insane. I call this insanity. Overlapping bars and big distances between that and then this move up. It's insane historically. Transports, big plus. I think today airlines are reporting, if they haven't begun to already, I haven't looked anyway. Maybe they can help, but this is a little short-term extended. Bitcoin, knocking on the door, new all-time highs, right up there near that prior pivot. We all know that this new ETF started trading, moving up. This should become a favorite for intraday, and I suppose eventually for those that want to participate in trading Bitcoin through an ETF. Become very popular. Gold, I missed that yesterday. Was really not much of a miss of opportunity or anything, and because it just continues to be uncertain mess, just whipping up and down. Silver started making a pretty nice move here. So things are getting interesting. This is still in a downtrend. Let's see if it stalls here. Cleared the high. But it's interest rates going up. And I mentioned earlier in the week, the shorter terms are going up at a faster rate than the longer term ones. And that will begin, or already has begun to narrow the spread between yields a little bit. Nothing of a concern yet, but we're keeping an eye on that. At some point, we'll see that it can. And when these get too close together, it becomes more of a long-term concern. So nothing there yet, but I mention it. And the dollar's been talked about a lot. So that's the euro. It's coming off of a low here. Look at the pattern. A little, we like to share a little education here every morning. So this took a long time to come down. Earlier, I talked about a greater than 100% retracement in the broader markets. Well, this was a greater than 100% retracement. It took out the low. So as it retraces from here and takes out the low, many times is where you get a retracement or a turn. And that for some, that maybe that's counterintuitive, because a lot of people call this a breakdown because it took out the lows. Well, it is weak. There's no denying. And maybe it makes a lower high and goes lower into this void, but maybe it makes a significant rally. You don't know. The idea is when it breaks the low, don't be a seller or shorting, because you're likely to short the low of the move. And the momentum slowed here. See the move down, and this new low and reversal happened very close to that one. That is going to bring in buyers. So as a counter trend trade, watch this kind of setup there. It's very good for a counter trend trade setup. So euro moving up a little bit here. That means the dollar's coming down, and that's been a concern lately. So I think that's enough for me for today, and see what Dan's got.
Good morning. Also, all our opens are fine. So I'm going to go right to gappers here. Yeah, Netflix. Let's take a look at that, of course. Right. It closed very bullish. You know, that's a bullish pattern there. Continuation of 624 gap and near the low of that tail over there. So I really don't have an opinion right now. I don't know, but I'll be watching it, sure. Facebook, I tightened the stop. We have a put spread on that. We have a half lot of Amazon. Yep, we did Hood yesterday. Penn I have here. It's not earnings or anything, but look at the beautiful gap breakout yesterday in the weekly and the monthly. So I'm giving that's a beautiful bottom. Beautiful. Wide range bar, retest, bear sandwich, breakout. I have target, $100. That looks really good. Thomas, I thought you were coming into the green room. PLBY, we've been watching this. Thomas, we've been talking about this for the last 2 days. The target is a 200. Some of us in the green room were trading it yesterday. It's still in an uptrend on the 15. It's a W bottom on the weekly, so it does look higher. But I just hate chasing something when we were talking about it as your no-brainer entry was yesterday. Jacopo, Verb, and Hassan, Verb. It needs more time. I don't know. Hassan, I would love a 1, 2, 3. And it's extended on the monthly. Thomas asking about Tilray. Yeah, Thomas, we were all over this yesterday. Thomas, you have to get into the green trading room because we can get you into these things while they're happening, not a day later. So yeah, we entered 2 or 3 marijuana stocks yesterday. It was a big focus of ours. Hua we entered. That's a bull flag. So it looks great, John. We're already in it. Target on FedEx. I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure of the target. But I'd say, probably 235 is prior high. So if we can get $5, $6 out of it, would be a good trade. Thomas, TMP IQ. On TMP, I see no pattern at all. I don't like the overlapping bars. IQ, it's a bullish end of day base on the 15. It's a wide range bar. It's working on maybe a head and shoulders bottom. I would prefer a 1, 2, 3, but it looks higher. Look at Spider's upper right here. I said yesterday, I know we're extended, but I think we're going higher. This is a very bullish 15-minute chart still. Paul Tudor Jones had a nice interview on CNBC today, and just in a nutshell, he was saying the Fed is so missing the boat on this high inflation. That's some normal person in the future is going to have to raise rates to fend off inflation, and the stock market's going to have a big old tantrum when it does. But I'm not going to surely worry about something that might happen. Who knows? We'll know it ahead of time. But right now, things are looking good. MGA 7850. That's a big gap down. No pattern. Anthem 401. It's bullish weekly, monthly, sure. That could be maybe 30-minute high. This, whatever this, that's why Tau is. Oh, wow. Wow. Look at this pre-market run. It went from $1 to 7 and change. Pity the fool who, you know, got run over, and, you know, lucky for the person who bought the breakout. Wow. Ooh, that's a little loud. All right, MGA cake. Cake has a bearish gap down, but it's far from the 20. ACB up alarm. ACB we did not enter, but it's another pattern I like. Marijuana sector. So that's worth watching. ACB. You know, if you're bullish on the sector, just, you know, just buy them. Stop yesterday's low. So Greg, us too. We got our ETF trader. Tell me when you feel lucky on MJ for them. Beaky, I had an up alarm here. I tightened the stop to yesterday's low. Let me set a new alarm here at like 2140. Shouldn't retrace that far. Diamonds starting off in a power mode. So, you know, Beaky is actually a good example of, it was not acting right yesterday, but it didn't hit our stop. It was a longer term trade, and we just had to sit with it. Oh, Billy Bob, Billy Bob, we sold another third pre-market, right? It was at 82.70, and I tightened the stop just so if any of you were in it. You know, if any of you don't get Telegram, you know, it's at your own risk.